Alright guys, we're trying to figure out the old radiator mounting situation. Problem is, I want to be fancy and use AN hoses. So, it's really screwing us up here because these fittings are huge in order to use the right size fittings. But, I think I've found something. This is a 180. I need to get a better angle for you guys. Alright, so I'm thinking something like this. Cut this 90 right at the start, weld that directly to that pipe, and then we'll have about an inch of hose in between the two. I don't know. That's the best thing I've come up with yet. So I'll see what my buddy thinks and go from there. That's the best orientation I've seen yet. We'll probably just have to notch this area of the rad support out a little bit, and hopefully that is it. Alright. Oh yeah, and also guys, I got these calipers off of Amazon. Brand new. I don't know if they're brand new or rebuilt. They say new, but I think they're rebuilt. Brand new calipers on Amazon. 150 bucks I think it was for all four, 2 front, 2 rear. Brand new. Not a bad deal at all. They look almost identical to the Power Stop brand that's on Rock Auto, but they are a little pricier on Rock Auto. So I found these on Amazon and scooped them up for the Brat. Tomorrow we are going to put these on, possibly pull out the axles and do those up, weld them and sleeve them with the pipe you see there. It isn't DOM, so it does have a ridge in the middle. I hope it will go over the axle tube. If not, we're gonna have to go back to Fazio's next weekend, and we're gonna have to get some DOM tubing. But my buddy had this lying around. He brought it to me. Hopefully it'll work. So that's what we got going on here. Got to figure out this rad. We went to Fazio's today and we bought some aluminum angle to mount up, to use to mount up the rad. I'm gonna trim this down to size. We're gonna put it in that cavern there. We're gonna mount it this way or this way, and then the angle is gonna bolt to those holes right here, same as the stock rad did previously. The 2 holes through there with the bushings. I need to find the other correct bushing of this one. This is a intercooler bushing and it's loose in there, so we gotta trim this up, do that, tack that, and that's about it. Yeah, and we'll do the axles too. And then once we figure out this lower fitting situation, I'm gonna rip the intake manifold off, and we're gonna cut down the coolant crossover tube to trim it back to where it needs to be, and then do whatever kind of fittings we need there as well. Alright guys, need to order up some more aluminum weld-on bungs. Need 3 more, and I'm gonna need some more fittings too, but we're gonna wait and see for that. By the way, this 180 degree hose end 20 AN, take a guess how much it was. And don't worry, I bent it a little extra over 180 degrees. That's why it looks like that. Take a guess how much this was though. Vibrant brand. And we might potentially be hacking this thing up and cutting it and sectioning it. But take a guess. Alright guys, this build's getting real expensive. Alright guys, about to start working on mounting up this rad a little bit. I'm going to cut these tabs off from the original rad mount. We're going to switch it to the new school Subaru setup. So we're going to put pins, we're going to put aluminum rod on the bottom of the rad, and they will sink into this, and we'll weld this to the bottom rad support. How the new style setup is. I think it'll be a little easier to set up that way. And then I need to find, I accidentally ended the video. I need to find another one of these bushings here. I lost it, but hopefully with some cleaning, I will be able to find it. Alright, so I'm gonna cut these, cut those two nubs off down there, and then go from there. Alright, I do not suggest doing that. So, don't ever use the cutoff wheel in that direction. Should never do that. Definitely not that close to a timing belt either. Just to show you guys how close. So, that is where I just cut, and that is the belt over there. Super close. Alright guys, we're going to mess with these a little bit. We're just going to cut this right around here to allow the rad to sit on the front side of it. Kind of hard to explain, but you'll see when I show you. So we're going to cut these two apart and then refit this. Alright, so now they fit better, but now we're having the problem that the rad is going to sit too far back based on maybe not. Something like that. I don't know, I'm going to do some messing around with this positioning and see what I can figure out. Alright guys, I got it sitting real nice. I like how it's sitting right now. I actually tucked the front lip of the rad over that lip of the rad support. And then, it's kind of hard to see, but up in there is the bushing, and it's pretty well centered. And then on the back side, it's kind of resting on the bushing as well. I like the height of that. I hope that the hood pin will clear. If not, we can just shave down that piece of the lip of the rad. And I'm almost thinking we could bend this lip out just a tad to leave some room here. And we'll put like a piece of weather stripping on that or something along those lines. So now we just have to figure out the top side of the mount. And pretty much be good to go besides welding the rods to the radiator. Alright. What is up guys? It is Thanksgiving here. Last weekend I blasted out this area right here with the plasma cutter to give me some room for the AN fitting, the 180. We are about to cut the AN fitting up. This is a 45. That will most likely go in this area once we cut that hose back. But anyway, we're about to cut the AN20 fitting, the 90 that I ordered. The plan is to cut this right about here where the straight portion stops, weld this into the thermostat housing, put a hose end on here, and then have the 180 coming out of the radiator, something like this, somewhere around there, and then that other piece will be coming out of the thermostat housing, and we're going to trim the thermostat housing back a little bit. The radiator's over at my buddy's house, and he's welding the bottom, the little rods on the bottom to go into the bushings, and then the pieces of angle iron up top to get mounted up top in the stock holes. I need help finding these bushing things. What are they called? Where do I get them? Should I just go to Subaru? Please let me know. Alright, time to cut this thing up. That is how you cut a $30 AN fitting. So they're actually pretty decently thick. Me and my buddy were wondering what the thickness of the wall was. They actually are pretty thick. That's like 3/16 or 1/4 inch wall. So I guess these things are able to be re-welded together and spliced up if necessary. We were debating if that would be an option or not. Alright, I'm going to clean this up a little bit, get the burrs out of there, and go see how it looks in the thermostat housing. Really don't want to mock it up, do too much cutting because I don't have the radiator here to mock it up, but I have an idea of how far back it needs to go into the thermostat housing. Let me get these burrs out of here, bro. Alright guys, this thing fits in there like perfectly snug. It's pretty awesome actually. But I need it sitting back like somewhere around here. So what I think I'm gonna do, and I also need it on somewhat of an angle. I think what I'm gonna do is cut it a little bit in front of this line here and go on somewhat of an angle with the way the fitting goes, and then see how that looks. Alright guys, we got the thermostat housing and the fitting trimmed up. Fits in there real nicely. There's a few casting a little bit of the casting is messing up the fitting inside of this, so I'm going to get the Dremel and Dremel it down, and I think we're honestly going to have to trim it farther back when the time comes. But this will be sitting something like that, with a little bit of hose in between, like 6 inches of hose total, like an inch separating them, just to give it a little flex to it. We might have to trim this farther back too. I'm not exactly sure. I'm honestly worried that we're not going to be able to trim the thermostat housing far enough back because the bung is actually going to be in the radiator, something like that. And right now we're touching that, so we'll see what happens. But I think we can make it work either way. And I trimmed these up some more so they sit even farther forward, because before the rad was having trouble fitting between this, having the lip of it come over this. So we can always pull that lip out or push this lip in or trim it if necessary, but rather just leave it as is if we can. Alright guys, I'm hoping to get this rad pretty much fully situated by like next weekend, because all we really have to do for the top is just pull the manifold off. I might do a similar situation up there, or I might just do a regular straight fitting, which I can't find. Here they are. Originally I was thinking like a 45 and a straight, but I forgot how big the fittings get once you add a bend into it. So I'm kind of thinking just do a straight from the rad and weld the bung in there and stuff that farther back, do a straight right from there with just a little hose. I think it'll look pretty good and should fit good, but we'll see what happens. I need to get these axles sleeved and those brake calipers on, and we'll pretty much be ready to go. We just gotta tidy up some wires and some hoses and make sure nothing's rubbing on anything, and we can back her out and take it for a spin. I'll probably push it over onto the lift first and do the axles, but we're coming along nicely. Got the air oil separator mocked up, just mounted, just to see how it looks. I might move it around. Right now I just have one bolt in it. I might have to drill a second bolt hole, but it's pretty steady. Actually, only movement is the bolts going into the AOS that are actually loose. This will probably get switched to the competition series with the vent to atmosphere, but and then these fittings will probably all get changed to AN fittings for the coolant. But besides that, everything will be the same. I got this from a buddy for cheap, so I had to scoop it up. Looks good. I need to get all the hoses though, so it's actually kind of cool that I have to switch the fittings too, because it's no biggie, because I don't even have any hoses for it yet, so works out decent. So we're gonna mock up the lines for that probably and start ordering that stuff up. Alright guys, we built up our lower radiator hose today. Had some issues. First time trying to assemble it, something happened with the threads and they got all galled up, and I had to, that was actually just turned into trash. I had to cut the 45-degree fitting I had for the top side, and I turned that, I used that for the lower piece that's going to get welded to the thermostat. I think I made this hose a little bit too long, so I wanted to leave, you know, some flex. I wanted to be able to flex it a little bit. But the thing is now, the rad, or the hose, sits far away. Not far away, but it sits away from the thing, and this actually has to go 1/4 inch in. So, well, the bung will be 1/4 inch into the radiator. So I don't exactly know what we're gonna do about that, but we will make it work one way or another. I was kind of thinking, I asked my buddy what he thought about it, but I was almost thinking welding a little extension pipe, like use the hole saw, weld a pipe into there just to space it out, you know, 1/2 inch, and then that will allow us to bring the whole setup farther back. The only problem is that the farther back you bring it, you start hitting the timing cover. So it's a really tricky situation. I don't exactly know what the answer is yet, but we will figure it out.